Brandon Board,
She's gonna change.
Select Board to order.
Just like Dale now.
We have a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any discussion, changes? No, everybody, all approved? I say you got to say aye, we'll start over again. Aye.
Aye.
We'll try the approval of the minutes. Okay, we have a motion on that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion, changes?
Are we approving all 4 sets, or are we doing one by one?
I think we can do all 4. Good for everybody. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Town manager's report.
Thanks very much. I did submit my report ahead. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I don't really have anything in particular to add to it tonight, so in the interest of brevity, I'll just leave it there.
All right, I'll start with the board. Any questions for town manager?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Brian?
On that, building a resilient infrastructure,
Yes, the brick grant.
yeah, the brick grant, probably just should be noted that that has been in the works for a while. Nothing's been done very often.
Sure.
What's the question?
I think the question is to make sure that the previous management was
Well,
given credit for starting the process.
We
I've
just
done nothing.
finished it, but,
I just was announcing to the select board that the award was made, Brian.
no, I understand. And I got one more. On the industrial court,
Yep.
it would appear there's a conflict of interest. If you're on that board, and you're also the person that's going to negotiate a lease.
So it's being handled by the industrial court in a way that is satisfactory to them.
They approved that, and it just seems like you were approved to go forward to get a lease. And if you're on that board,
He can abstain.
There are options available to any board member on any board to act with integrity when it regards a potential conflict of interest. I'm there to represent the interests of the town of Brandon in this case.
And since you brought it up, I've been pondering this as well, and I'm quite curious about this because it seems like when the industrial core board was set up, they specifically wanted to have a perspective of the town, which is why the town manager has typically sat on that board. And so it seems odd to me that the town might do something that would interact with them, and there would be a conflict of interest because the town management is clearly looking out for the interests of the town, and so I guess I don't see a conflict of interest in any way here.
well, usually any of the lots that have been sold or leased up there have been not the town, have been a private company.
The town bought
I'm
one.
gonna say, we bought one with that we have the
For Green Lantern?
Green Lantern.
I take the point, but I really don't think it's a matter for the select board to determine. I think it's a matter for the industrial corporation to determine what it wants done as far as the integrity of the process. And they've made their decisions.
I'd give my 2 cents is that I just was unfamiliar with the Brandon Industrial Corporation, and once I understood it, thanks to, it was either Doug or Seth, one of you guys, explained it to me, and then I was a lot calmer about it, because that was my knee-jerk reaction too, was like, wait, like, there's 2, but it may be helpful just, can you repeat it again, please, Seth or Doug? What it is, just because I can't.
So as it exists right now, its main purpose is to responsibly develop the lots that exist at the Edward Denick Industrial Park, sometimes called the Brandon Industrial Park, which is on the Arnold District Road. It has traditionally been made up of Brandon business people plus the town manager, which is its current iteration.
Okay.
That's a board of 5. Is it 5?
It's presently a board of 5.
So if needed, you would be able to abstain
Absolutely.
if they felt. And it's not like it's going to impact one person's personal business, the industrial court.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for the town manager from the board?
Nothing for me, thanks.
The public? Not, we'll move on to the rec director's report.
Thank you, Tracy. My report, it's a brief one for today. New bus trip announcement, March 24th, the Brandon Rec will be going to the Capital Region Flower and Garden Exposition at Hudson Valley Community College. It's $55 for residents, $66 for non-residents. This will be a popular preview of all things for the spring. We used to go to Boston. Boston trip never survived the COVID. This was an opportunity to go back and do a bus trip. I already got a fantastic tour person, and we already just had somebody sign up, so looking forward to it. Brandon Rec, Brandon Public Library, 2024 Quiz Night Series is set to start January 7th. The Brandon Inn will host in January. The Nashville Golf Course will host in February. This takes place on Sundays at 6:30. It's free registration online, and it is an adult offering. Working on the joint Brandon Rec, Brandon Public Library, and Middlebury Rec, Ilsley Library Total Eclipse event on April the 8th. And just to expound upon that, the Brandon Rec, 7 years ago, plus or minus a few months, made the decision with the Brandon Library to host an event in Middlebury because that is the path of totality. And when you're talking about solar eclipses, the difference between the path of totality and 99% eclipse is like the difference between 99% eclipse and 20% eclipse. And so we are hosting an event there. I know there's other organizations within Brandon that are going to be hosting an event here for the partial eclipse, or the 99% eclipse, which is awesome. But there is another event that we're doing in conjunction with the rec department and the library up there at the Middlebury Mary Hogan Field. There'll be a food truck with some music and fun. So, and that's my report for today.
Thank you. Anything from the board? For the rec director?
No, thanks.
Anything from the public?
So Bill, when you came up with the cost for that bus trip, did you add any administrative costs like we talked about during the budget process?
Yes, I did add some administrative costs. I added in the cost for the host, this is the person that's not me that's going to be going on the trip, and a friend to go. And so the way that's cut right now, we'll make a little bit of money, but it's not, like this was 3 phone calls and an email to make happen. Like this is not an administratively heavy thing, hence the $55 and $66. I mean, the bus down there is like $1,945. You divide that by 48, and then you get a group discount on the tickets, and that's where we arrived at that number.
Thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Moore? If not, we'll move on to public comment.
Actually, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have one question, and this is about bus trips in general. So the per ticket cost is based on a pro rata share of a full bus.
Yes.
Right. So is there like a cutoff? If we don't get X amount of riders, we don't do the trip?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the ability, Premier's really good with us. I mean, letting us go as far as, I think, like 7 or 14 days prior to the trip. And with the folks at the flower show, they'll give back a chunk of money if you don't sell the tickets.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Anything else? If not, now we'll move on to public comment and participation. We'll start with anything that's not on the agenda. We'll start with the board. Anybody got anything that's not on the agenda?
I would just like to call out and thank our town treasurer, Sue Gage, for her extremely thoughtful and well-written response on Front Porch Forum to all the concerns that were being raised about the water and sewer rates. I thought she did a very good job of explaining why the rates are what they are, and judging from the responses to her, she was able to allay the concerns of quite a few people. So I just would just like to have the record show that I, for one, appreciate that.
Absolutely. Any, Heather?
No, thank you.
Brian?
Nope.
Tim?
No, thank you.
Anybody from public? Nothing being heard, we'll move on to 6, and I'm gonna let Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Tracy. So I wanted to approach the board. I previewed this 1 or 2 different times in the past, talking about the possibility of applying for a VOREC grant. They're administered by the Vermont Department of Parks. It's Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economic Collaborative. They're grants that are 100% funded, so there's no match from the town. If we're to apply, there'd be no match. And so we're looking to apply for our newly developing parcel land that sits behind the Grand American Legion to create a disc golf course. I've been working with Martin Field and his group. They did some work this summer in creating an opportunity to make this a better space to recreate in. And we are putting together a grant application that will be due this Friday if you guys are to approve. An amount of about $73,000. The minimum to apply for this implementation grant is $50,000. And of that $73,000, and that's where I'm a little bearish on whether or not they're going to approve our grant, because disc golf is not a necessarily equipment-heavy endeavor. But of that $73,000, $50,000 of it would go to resurfacing what would serve as the trailhead, the paved lot at the American Legion that is north of the building. So that space would be prepped and be accessible for the town to use as the trailhead. And then we would be spending $13,000 to move the fence so we can have an access that goes across their property back to our land. And then the rest of the money would be used for buying baskets, putting tee boxes in, some of the forestry work that might be needed. And so that's what we're in the middle of, and I wanted to ask if the select board would approve us applying for this grant.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I think that it's great to be forward-looking, and disc golf sounds like a great idea. Low footprint, not a lot of injury comes from disc golf. And it's also cool that it comes out of American Legion, facility where there's some parking already, so we don't have to invent anew. So I'm all for this. This is great.
You said it's 100%.
100%, zero
Yeah.
match from us.
I think it's fantastic, and I have a hope that once we have some trails started, perhaps that can be expanded into some sort of a trail, I'm not talking Pine Hill Park, but some sort of trail that kids in town, when we're saying, oh, they're so obnoxious on the sidewalks, we could say, there's an alternative in the woods. So, yeah, wholeheartedly, awesome.
So I make a motion that we approve the grant.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, board. And a big thank you to Martin, who's done a lot of legwork. I mean, we're still going to be working together, he and I, over the next 72 hours to finish up this grant, but he and his group have done a tremendous amount of work. They've already put in over 200 volunteer hours this summer making this space happen. So,
Every Thursday night, right?
every Thursday night this summer.
Thursday night, it's been like a group of them.
All right, we'll move on to fiscal. Let's,
I make a motion that we approve the warrant for $389,950.14.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Good question. On the bottom of the first page, I think it's you, Bill. $2,300, youth soccer, I was just curious what that was.
That was for purchasing a new set of goals. So we're going to be working with Pittsford Rec next year to host our own soccer. So for the last, probably last 8 or 9 years, we've paid to participate and Rutland Youth League Soccer. I think you remember when Gracie was participating. And it used to be a great deal for us. We'd kick $400, we'd get 6 or 7 games. Now we've moved down to 4 games, and so Liz and I, or the Pittsburgh Rec Director and I have gotten together, and we're gonna host our own soccer, so we're going to move the smaller set of goals that are up at Neshabie down to Estabrook. This new set of goals allows us to host 2 youth games, 3-4 age games there. Pittsburgh will host the larger kids, the 5th and 6th graders, 2 games at a time, and we'll be able to host our own Saturday soccer here. So that was the master plan.
Thank you. Anything, Director Rose?
Anything else? If not, we'll make, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now we'll just go to recess short minute for everybody to say anything for the good of the public or anything. Say their goodbyes because we've got a couple of executive sessions.
I'd be remiss not to remind people that the reverse parade is on Sunday, this Sunday, 5 to 6 down Park Street. The 4th annual reverse parade, you'll definitely want to make sure you check that out. Drive through, there's some great lights, and then there's a concert directly after at the Brandon Inn. So,
I'd like to say that's the shortest meeting we've had.
You did it.
I'm gonna pause the recording for the executive session.
Okay?
Recording.
If she wants to do something else.
The budget committee would like to have a
Excuse me,
meeting.
there's not anything.
Could you warn a meeting next Monday at 5:30 for the budget committee to meet before the group together meets?
You got the budget committee to meet by themselves, correct?
Yes, they asked if we could have a meeting.
I don't think we have to warn that, do we? They're not elected.
They're appointed. So-
Okay.
Yeah, we've had to.
Oh, okay.
Previously, we've
Yeah.
had to.
What day is that?
Monday.
It's the Monday,
Monday
right
before the,
before the budget.
Is that, would that be a public meeting?
Yeah, yeah, anyone can come.
So you're saying the committee is gonna meet half an hour before the,
Yes,
okay.
Are you gonna meet here?
yes,
Okay, I'll warn that tomorrow.
thank you.
all right, thank you.